Hi and welcome to this week's life lesson video. It's great to be back with you all. This week we're talking all about how to be a healthy parent to your inner child. Inner child work and inner child reparenting is essential for your own self-healing and emotional freedom. But what if you just really struggle with this inner child reparenting? What if the adult parent part of you is also lost, stuck, or not in a healthy place? How can you have a good relationship with your inner child if you don't have a good relationship with the adult part of you? How can the adult part of you begin to teach, support, and educate the inner child if that adult part of you hasn't got the answers and doesn't know what to tell the child? Well, in this video, we will help you with this. Welcome to our Wu Wei Wisdom Life Lessons series. In each episode, we answer your questions, reveal the powerful life lesson, and offer you lots of practical tips and advice to help you live in balance, harmony, and flow. Okay, David, so let's begin with some definitions. What are we talking about when we say the inner child?
Right, so we're giving a label to a part of our mind. We've done lots of videos on this. So this is a part of the mind that's kind of frozen in a childhood experience, normally between the ages of 6 years old and 9 years old. And the child has created what the Taoists call a block, a kernel. It's stuck, it's holding on, and it builds lots of protection around it. So it's a part of your mind. It's not external to you. It's just a label we're giving to a part of the mind that acts in a childlike way.
Okay, and so as David said, we've done several videos on defining what is the inner child, and I will put a link above to one of those videos for you. So if our inner child is a frozen, stuck part of our mind because of something that happened to us in childhood, what then is the adult or the parent?
So the adult, mature or parent part of our mind is the mind that's sitting here and listening to us. It's the mind that gets on with your career, with your family, with your normal life. It's the kind that's making these ongoing decisions about your life, your career journey, your life journey, what kind of a mother or a father you are, how you live in this current time.
Okay, so essentially both the adult parent and the inner child are two parts of our mind.
Absolutely.
But I guess it's like the inner child is a part it's stayed immature, it's stayed left behind, it hasn't been brought into our future self. And so the adult is now the part of our mind which is in the now, which is dealing with the day-to-day adult mature things that we have to deal with. But of course, this adult, the rest of our mind is strongly influenced by the inner child, which is stuck. So the two can't be separated, really, can they? Because they're part of our mind.
No, but we do separate them because we project, and this is what we call the mask. We project to other people. We don't let them know about this inner critic, this inner little chattering away, the inner voice, the 3 a.m. mind, I call it. We don't let people know about that, but all the time that's talking to us and influencing our decisions. So again, if you want to experience this, it's kind of the mature self sees an opportunity, perhaps a career change, perhaps moving house, moving countries, moving whatever, and then there's no reason why you can't do it, but there's that inner restriction, that inner pull. I often see it with my clients. They're working very, very hard, almost too hard, extending all of their energy, and it's like they're pulling a big chain along with them, and they can never kind of get going. And if they're not on their guard, they quickly and easily slip back to old, what we call the carousel of despair, old habits of going round and around. They go, oh, why do I keep doing this? Oh, it's a habit. I never get anywhere. And they say all of this stuff because their inner child has pulled them back from living their life authentically and truthfully.
And so if we are in a good place as an adult in terms of our emotional balance and our understanding about the reality of life, we can then, through inner child parenting, go back and communicate with and teach the inner child the life lessons. So that's the kind of the basics. But for a lot of people, they may say, oh, but the problem is, David, my adult self is not in a good place. My adult self is always being negative. I don't believe as an adult I have any value. I don't believe as an adult the world's a good place. I think I'm weak. I think I'm vulnerable. Therefore, if I'm not in a good place, how on earth can I get my inner child into a good place?
You can't.
So this is the dilemma.
You can't be a teacher if you haven't got the knowledge to teach, can you? And in the example that Alex has just showed you, the mature person is mature, but she's not matured emotionally, or he's not matured emotionally. And so actually they're not in control of their life. I often say on these videos, emotionally, are you in control, or is there a 6, 8, 10-year-old at the wheel of your car driving your car? And if you're not in control, how can you go back and teach your child? Because your inner child will not respect you, because your inner child has got you wrapped around their little finger. And this is what I find with a lot of my clients. I think this is one of the ways I can help clients, because I can help the client to learn these life lessons. And that's why we call these series life lessons, so you can start to understand these difficult life lessons and approach them from a mature spiritual point of view.
Because I think, David, that's so true what you said. You can read as many self-help books, see as many therapists as you want, have all the right kind of things to tell the child in a logical way, all the right words to say. However, if as the adult you don't truly believe what you're saying, you're actually saying one thing to the child, but you don't really believe it, the inner child will always know. So you won't make that connection, and you won't make the progress. Because
the inner child is you.
Yeah.
So the inner child knows.
You're trying to trick yourself.
Exactly.
You're trying to trick yourself. So
it doesn't work. So the inner child is you. So if you go to the inner child and tell it to lie, well, it's like you've fallen at the first fence, because the inner child knows that you're lying. And that's what I'm always saying. When you watch these videos, or when you're in our Facebook community, or when you do a session with me, when you do a session with me on the video link, I record it if you want it recording. For you, not for me. I send it to you. And what I say to my clients, please take time now, doesn't matter how long, a week, a month, go through the video. And what I am asking you to do is, when we're talking about something and I say something and you have a restriction, you have a pushback, you have something that doesn't sound right, or you say, well, I know that's right, but I'm not going to accept that. That's what we have to work on, because that's where we have to go to those places. When you're in the community, if you watch a video or somebody else says something, that's what you should challenge. That's what you should confront, not confrontation. How many videos have I said to you, this is so important, what I'm going to say now. What do you believe? Why do you believe it? The why is the most important thing. That's the golden thread, that I'm sure we'll talk about it in a moment. You've got to understand, because if you just say, well, I believe I'm divine, I believe I'm awesome, when actually you don't, the inner child knows.
Yeah, and so I guess, and I know we have this reported to us so many times by clients and people in our Facebook community. If you go to your child and say, well, you are lovable, you are good enough, you can cope, you create your emotions, other people don't create your emotions. But if you tell your child all the things we teach, but the adult part of you doesn't believe it, it's simply not going to work. So what you've kind of alluded to there, David, is that you as the adult, the mature adult, need to start to be accountable for what you believe and why you believe it. So saying positive words, nice fluffy things to the inner child is not going to work. So who...
In fact, it makes it worse.
Yeah, it compounds the dishonesty.
Because that's the word, you see. So that's the word I was going to say. This teaching actually is so simple. We've done 100 videos like nearly, but actually it's so simple. I'll give it to you in one sentence. Do not lie. What could be more simple than that? Everything you think that goes through your self-talk, everything that comes out of your mouth, you should believe it. Therefore, if you believe it, you can back it up. So a lot of people will write in and say, oh, I disagree with what you've said. I think that's a load of rubbish. That doesn't make sense, blah, blah, blah. But they don't tell me why. Why do they believe it doesn't make sense? Why do they believe it's a load of rubbish? What do they believe instead? That's the key. That's the key. A lot of clients will write in to me and say, I do not create my emotions. Okay, so if you do not create your emotions, and I'm talking about all emotions, not just red lights, green lights, happiness, bliss, love. If you do not create them, then how do those emotions enter your body and manifest in you? What is the process? And they go, well, I don't know. Well, then what do you believe? Something you don't know?
Yeah. And so really what you're talking about here is self-responsibility, emotional self-responsibility and emotional accountability for us now as the adult, not just following what the inner child says to us when it blames other people, when it says it's not fair, it wasn't fair, what happened to me, all the things the inner child says to us because it has unresolved issues. So am I right in thinking then, David, that we have to heal and work on our adult self first before we can go and do the work with our inner child?
Absolutely. If you look at the reparenting video, it's in 3 steps. The first step is you have to work on yourself. And this actually is the easiest because you can do this. You're a mature, intelligent person. As you're listening to us now, particularly here, and we encourage it. You see, this is the difference. We are encouraging you to disagree with us. Well, I want you to, as long as you tell me why you disagree and what is your truth. That's the first step, because when you're doing that, you are now connecting to your truth. And that part of your mind sees that we're calling the inner child, sees you beginning to be truthful, sees you beginning to challenge, sees you beginning to confront situations, and then we can enter into a conversation. If you're my client, there's nothing best. I love it when clients get out their notebook and they say, right, from the last session, David, I'm now going to disagree with 4 things you said. Great, let's go through them one by one. Tell me what you disagree and why you disagree.
And David, that it's all well and good if we can go and see a therapist to help us with this. Almost the therapist can guide us as the parent before we can then guide our inner child.
And that's what I do, really.
But really, you know, who parents the parent? Is that our Shen? Is that our higher self? Is that part of us that it almost like the missing part of the equation here? So we have the human mind, our mind, which is the adult us now, and the kind of stuck inner child. So that's the human part of us. But there's also, we teach in several videos, and I'll put a link to them, this idea of our higher self, our Shen, our spiritual essence, this wise inner knowing that we have innately. Does our Shen then need to be the inspirational parent to the adult self?
Yes. You're so used to listening to the squealing piglets of the inner child, the moaning, the temper tantrum, the shouting. The Shen voice is much quieter, but much more powerful. Alex used the right word. I love this word. Inspirational. In spirit. And once you start as the adult not to listen, not to be drawn into these battles, these fights, these going around the carousel. Poor me, I can't cope, life's unfair, you don't know how bad it is for me, David. Me, enough about me, let's talk about me. This is the inner child. This is the inner child. Wanting attention, wanting validation, wanting to focus. And all the time you're doing that as the adult, you're not listening to this much more quieter, spiritual, divine, pure essence of yourself, because you also have this. So you have the inner child, absolutely. It's not a monster, it's not evil, it's not the devil, but you also have this higher self, whatever you want to call it, essence. This, and I always say, if you're ever unsure, if this is the first time you've watched one of these videos, if you're not sure what I'm saying, think about somebody you really love, your child, your parent, your partner, and just close your eyes for a second and just take a breath and drop your shoulders and just picture them, the way they look, the way they walk and talk to you, the way they dress. And then just ask yourself this one question: is that all they are? Does that define everything about this person that I love? And of course it doesn't. There's something else, non-physical, that you can't see, they can't give to you, you can't take from them. But what makes them unique? So even if you had identical twins, they are not the same. They may look the same, they may even dress the same, but they're not the same. And once you're with them for 30 seconds, you can see the difference. And that's what we're talking about, that uniqueness. And that's when I look in the camera and I really, truly mean it and say, you are awesome. That's what I'm talking about. There is no one like you in the universe. And that's the part the mature you has to reconnect to, listen to, challenge. And that's what we come in. Yeah. Challenge, disagree, have the discussion, and have it as a mature level.
Yeah.
This is why I disagree with David, and this is why I disagree. So, for instance, I disagree I'm awesome, David. Okay, tell me why. Give me the reason. Give me your evidence. And that's how, once you start to do that, then you're getting the mature you, the adult you, the whatever you want to call it, fit for purpose, fit to go back and speak to that child, because you're going back with truth, honesty, and integrity. We've done a video on the spiritual contract. That's the clause. Truth, honesty, and integrity. Everything you say, you believe.
And also, I will put a link to that video on the Shen contract and the spiritual contract, how to live a spiritually guided life, because that's so important really in this teaching. If you can put in the effort, because it will require effort at first because you're so used to not doing it, to connecting to that higher self, that Shen part of your mind, that has all the answers, that has all the wisdom, that has all the kind of the grounded, rooted reality of the truth, the spiritual truth of every life situation. So if you are stuck as the adult on, I'm not good enough, I can't cope, I'm unlovable, speak to that Shen part of your mind, and that Shen will tell you the truth. And so it's almost like a two-step process we're advocating here. Become aligned and connect to your Shen every day. And as I say, I will put a link to the video, and we've done several videos on connecting to Shen. Connect to your Shen, but also put in the effort to be accountable and self-responsible for the beliefs that you are holding onto now as the adult. And that process of connection with the Shen, self-inquiry, self-accountability will get you fit for purpose, fit for the inner child reparenting job.
And can I share with you one of the most important things why it's so difficult to connect to your Shen?
Okay.
Why do you think it's so difficult? Who doesn't want you to connect to your Shen?
The inner child.
The inner child doesn't want you to connect.
And why doesn't it want you
because
to connect?
Because it doesn't trust it. Simple as that. Your inner child does not trust your Shen because it can't see it. It's, what is Shen? It wants to have something it's sure of. It wants to have absolutely control about the future.
Black and white certainty.
Absolutely certainty. And so he doesn't want you to listen to this non-physical part of you, this inspirational part of you. How about if this comes up with a crazy idea and then we'll be dragged along with it? So the biggest restriction that stops you doing this, and I tell you what normally happens with clients, when you work with them and they are inspired, they see the truth and the benefit of the teaching, they start the work with full intention. Guess what happens? It lasts about a week. And then the gnawing away of the inner child ticks away, kicks away, and they go, oh, and then they use this word. No wonder I've got no hair, because I hear this word and it does create red lights in me as well, because I get red lights as well. Oh, David, it's easier. Oh, it's not easier. How can it be easier? Stop that nonsense. It's nonsense. It's just, oh, then they give me another one. Here's the other one. Oh, it's just habit. Ugh. It's not habit. You're making choices. Yeah. You have a choice as a human being. How you live your life. The road that you follow. What do you want? Do you want your inner child, an 8-year-old, to be your compass? Or do you want the Shen side of you to be your compass? I know what I prefer. The compass of the Shen, because that will lead you on your true path. That you are made of cosmic stardust. What more do you want than that? You don't know the future. No one knows the future. Why don't you explore and open yourself up? Chinese call it lotus blossom opening. How about that? The sun comes out and all the lotus blossoms opening. The universe is there for you. This is a law of attraction. Why do you want to hear this little 8-year-old child saying, we can't do that, we won't be good enough, we will fail, we're not perfect, blah, 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 we need validation. Oh my goodness, you're so used to this. And this is what Alex says, this is the breakaway. Because once you start to listen to this other side of you, the child will go, oh my goodness, I don't like this idea. I want to continue on the carousel of despair.
And so this is where the emotional self-discipline comes in. Because a lot of people say, oh, well, I mean, this is not practical. How do I do this? But really, you can connect to your Shen, your higher self, through meditation, through sitting quietly, through asking yourself a question and waiting for that quiet voice to speak. You can hold yourself accountable by saying stop it and not allowing your emotions to roll down the train track out of control, putting in that self-discipline. You can sit down and, as David said, and think about, what do I believe and why do I believe it? You know, write it out, talk about it, start to thrash it out and put in that work. So these are all very practical steps you can take.
And we've just done a video on how do you understand the difference between your inner child's voice. So as you're listening to Alex there, if you had a little voice inside your head and going, oh dear, that's really hard work. Oh, I don't know whether I can do that.
I can't do it. It's not practical.
I can't do it. Oh, I haven't got time to do that. That's going to be too difficult for me. I'm too stupid. I'm not clever enough. There's your inner child. You've just heard it. And I always say to my clients, you've got enough time to worry, haven't you? You've got enough time to be stressed. You've got enough time to be anxious. You've got enough time to lie awake at night and worrying about what's going to happen tomorrow, the next day, what's going to happen to you, this is going to happen, that going to happen. Why haven't you got enough time for this? You are choosing to devote your time, to waste your time, I would say, on going round on the carousel. And why you're doing that is just because it's familiar. But then you say, but I haven't got time for this, David. Oh, this sounds too difficult. Oh, it's only because it's something new. If you keep on doing the same things, you get the same results. Einstein said that. If you keep on doing the same thing, expect the same results. That's the definition of insanity. Keep doing the same thing, but expect a different result. This is nonsense. And if you've got enough time, if you are stressed, if you are anxious, if you are laden down, then you've got enough time to invest in that. And I'm saying, just give a little bit of time to your Shen. Then you'll see your energy changes, because that's what we're talking about, an energetic shift. You create your emotions. You're not the victim of them. And you've got to start looking at this in a clinical, straightforward, mature way. Because how can you expect to teach your child if you don't believe it?
Brilliant. Well, I hope that has given you plenty of things to think about. The importance of the Shen in the inner child reparenting equation, the importance of accountability, self-discipline, emotional self-responsibility as well, getting yourself fit for parenting the inner child. If anything we've talked about in this video...
Can I just say one more? Learning to speak the truth. I can tell you from all of my clients, this is the number one thing. Do not lie. Everything that goes through your self-talk comes out of your mouth. Do you believe it? That's all I'm asking about. Not whether I believe it or somebody else would believe it. Do you believe it? And that's the trick. If you get that bit right, then the others become easy.
Brilliant. Because as we said, if you're lying to yourself as the adult, you're lying to the inner child. And so the communication and the healing will never work. Please, if you've enjoyed the video, share it with someone who you think will also benefit. Comment below on your biggest takeaways or if you have any questions. If you would like one-to-one support from David, David works every week with clients all over the world by video call, and I will put a link in the video description below. If you're new to our channel, please do subscribe. We produce new videos every week and we'd love to have you here with us. When you subscribe, click the bell notifications button and you will receive a little email notification every time we produce a new video. We look forward to seeing you very soon. Bye-bye.